But let's shift focus and let's talk about what's happening within the EV space and the electric car battery market. India's companies which are bidding to now break China dependence. What is the scope then for the production of EV batteries here in India? And to talk about all of this, we have with us Vikram Handa from Epsilon Carbon Private Limited joining in on the show right now. Vikram, hi, good morning. Good to have you on the show. You know, there's been much debate ever since Tesla took off on the global stage and whether or not India is EV ready or not. Help us understand, firstly, what is the scope for EVs in India?
Hi, good morning. So I think there's a lot of scope, obviously, in a market like India. India is such a big auto market. So there's huge potential for EVs in India. Right now, what is happening, we see more adoption happening on the two-wheeler, three-wheeler space and the public transport space. There's a lot of movement in the two-wheeler, three-wheeler spaces last year. And I think it's going to take some time for movement in the four-wheeler space because that's more dependent on charging infrastructure being available as well, while two-wheelers can be charged at home even. But I think the next 3 or 4 years, adoption will be gradual. But after that, I look at it being very exponential in India.
Sure. Where does then Epsilon fit into the EV landscape, and where do you come in the battery value chain right now? And what would you think is the scope for production of graphite anodes in India?
So we are a coal tar distillation company, and we take coal tar from steel plants. It's a waste product of steel making. And for the last 2 years, we've been working on a technology how to convert coal tar, which has a lot of carbon, into graphite anode material for lithium-ion batteries. So we have patented our design and we started commercial production last year, and we plan to scale that up in the next 5 years. To give you an idea, the anode is about 25% of a cell. So it's a good size of a cell, and you really need to localize its manufacturing close to where you're going to manufacture the cell eventually. It's not viable to import such products. So we look at anode being a critical part of the cell making journey in India. And I think there's a lot of movement happening in other raw materials as well, whether you look at lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, the whole cathode side. There's a lot of traction happening in India, and people are looking for opportunities to do that in India.
What do you think has hampered the EV adoption in India, especially the making of raw materials on a large scale?
So I think the government has come out with a really good scheme, the ACC scheme, where they're promoting cell making. And we are in talks with several companies that are looking to bid for this scheme and take advantage of it. And they're looking at companies like us who can help them with locally sourced material so they can hit the target of local sourcing to get that subsidy from the government. So people are looking at this scheme aggressively and are interested in setting up cell manufacturing in India. Unfortunately, it's been a little bit of a chicken and the egg situation where now cell manufacturing is moving, but is there enough demand? So my feeling is that there's actually a lot of demand for battery packs in India today, and you see more and more people entering that space, including auto companies, to set up battery pack manufacturing facilities. That's a lower capex and a lower technology requirement. But all these battery pack manufacturers today require cells, and those cells are being imported from China. So I think there's already a business case to set up cell manufacturing in India and support battery pack manufacturing for various segments until the bigger auto companies come in and have requirements where there'll be a growth in cell manufacturing in India. To give you an idea, we are looking at in 2025 to have about 30,000 tons of anode material capacity in India, and that equals to about 30 gigawatt hours of cell making. So initially, we would be exporting our material out of India to Europe and US mainly. And we look to hit scale so that by the time someone comes to India and starts cell manufacturing, we've already hit scale and we're very competitive and can give them that advantage.
Okay, and how much do you think we can displace China's dependence for the entire EV value chain?
In the EV value chain, so about 50% of your cell cost is the anode and the cathode. In the cathode space, there are already big companies globally that follow gigafactories around and set up manufacturing units. But it's the anode space where the world is actually about 85% dependent on China. And China has built huge capacity, and that's mainly, again, a lot of raw material availability for them due to the huge steel industry as well. So I think our goal is to be able to manufacture 100,000 tons of anode material by 2030. And we look at demand being close to 2 million tons globally. So, even with a huge investment and putting up a lot of capacity, you're still only able to cater to 5% of global demand. But I'm optimistic that by 2030, there'll be a huge demand in India itself as cell manufacturing picks up. And we'll be focused on catering to that by 2030.
Tell me any tie-ups which are being discussed, or there are ongoing talks when it comes to raw material suppliers, because one understands that that's the most critical factor, the RMCs, or rather the raw materials.
Yeah, so we source raw material from steel plants in India, and obviously steel industry in India is growing, and the blast furnace route, so there'll be more and more coal tar available in India. In China, actually, coal tar production has capped off. So they're seeing a downward trend in coal tar availability over there. So again, I think India has a good opportunity. As far as our qualifications with customers go, with cell makers, we have started that process with the European and Korean and Japanese cell makers, and we expect to be qualified in another 2 years. It's a long process. It takes time.
Okay. And you think there could be a battery policy, so to speak, in India with regards to duties, manufacturing rules, etc.? What are your expectations?
Yeah, so this advanced chemistry cell policy that Niti Aayog has worked on very hard, and it's well structured to promote cell manufacturing in India. I think they're looking at that once they subsidize and they incentivize cell manufacturing in India, the ecosystem of anode and cathode will follow. I think we can cater to the anode demand, but there's definitely scope for cathode manufacturing in India. We are in talks with Niti Aayog as well, and they're very forthcoming that they want to promote the raw material processing sector also. So India can actually become a hub to convert battery minerals into battery materials. And we can be a hub to export to Europe and US that are looking for good sources of these materials. By the time the industry picks up in India, we'll already be very competitive in the raw material space to support cell manufacturing. So I think both things need to happen in parallel, and the government is very forthcoming in this space and understanding it.
And also just give us a sense as to what the scope is for the end market usage in India. What are the timelines that you're working with?
So we are in talks with various companies that are looking for cell manufacturing. So I think if the scheme comes out in a couple of months, I think in about 3 years, you should see close to 10 gigawatt hours of capacity in India, which would scale up to about 25 gigawatt hours by 2025. So I think once it starts, it will really grow exponentially because the demand is actually already there for cells. And when you import cells from China, mainly a lot of the cells are defective. And then that becomes a whole other process of how to return them, how to bring them here. So I think there's already a demand for cells. It's a matter of someone starting the investment process.